You only said like one sentence.
Well, I did say I was born in 1931 in County Mayo, Ireland, a small village about a mile from the town, Swinford, Kerry, Canada. I had 9 siblings,
Nine.
yes, and I was the eighth one. So we had a lot of fun growing up with all of us together. But as time goes on, and we all went to school, and but we didn't go to the school that was closest to us. We went to the school further away.
What was that?
I don't know. The town was only a mile away from us. We could have gone to the town school, but my parents wanted me to go to the country school, which was 3 miles away. So we walked to the school.
That was 6 miles a day walking.
Yes, but we used to take shortcuts. If we went the long route, it would be 3 miles, but we took all kinds of shortcuts across the fields and all that. So, and it was only a small school, but that's where we got our education. We all did well.
What was the school like? Was it just one room or was it
No, there was 2 rooms,
2 rooms?
yeah, and there was like infants. Used to call it infants, which is like a kindergarten here, first and second and third grade, or that room, and a bigger room had fourth, fifth, and sixth and seventh grade. It went up to seventh, I think, and then after that, you you worked hard on the farm. Um, I should say planting potatoes, lettuce, onions, and all the vegetables. We had all our own vegetables, and we never had to buy anything in town because we had our own. Well, and they were all fresh.
How did you water them? Did you have like an irrigation system or did you have to get buckets or?
Now there was plenty of water in Ireland. We never had to water them. There was plenty of water. Nothing died of thirst.
The rain was enough?
Oh yeah, the rain was enough. Yeah, the rain was enough. And then there was a lot of work, but there was taking care of the potatoes and getting them put away for the winter, and that was a lot of work. When we came home from school, we had chores to do.
I bet.
Yes, yes. There was, we had hens and we had ducks and we had turkeys, and in the winter time, for Christmas, and there was a lot of work. So there was the hens had to be put away for the night, and the ducks were always gone in the winter time. They always went down to the drains or down to the river. So we were always looking for the ducks. So, but they always made their way home. That was one thing. They always made their way home. So we had
Have you ever caught a chicken?
caught.
Yeah. When you chase
Oh,
after it and you
oh yes,
catch it.
oh yes, yeah. Catch the chicken.
It's not easy.
Huh? No, it's not. No, it's not easy to catch it. No, but yeah, it's hard. Yeah, that's a hard thing to do, to catch the chicken. Um, but it was nice when they laid eggs, and yeah, good fresh eggs, and we used to have our own little chickens too. That was cute. That was the cutest thing when you see to set the get the put the eggs. The hens would hatch the eggs, and then after a month or 6 weeks, the little chickens came out. So that was very, and as they grew up, a lot of times they were killed for meat. Killed our own chickens, killed our own pigs. We had pigs. Killed our own pigs, had our own bacon.
We have the big ones?
Yeah,
Wow.
big, big pigs. Had our own bacon. Had
Did you
our
ever sell any animals or did you just eat
uh,
them?
just for our own bacon.
Okay.
Yeah, for our own bacon, and that way you had your own bacon, your own eggs, and your own sausage because you made your own sausages, so didn't have to buy them. And my mother did all the baking. She hardly ever bought bread in town. She baked We baked all our own bread with
Did
the
you have an
flour,
oven?
huh? The
Did you
flour.
have an oven?
Oh, well, yes, we had an oven. Yes, it wasn't a it
There was
wasn't
no
an electric oven
electricity
or
then,
anything
right?
like that. It was the one that you did over this by the stove. You knew exactly how to put the coals underneath and the coals on top, and you baked the cake.
Yeah. Did you have electricity in your house when you were a kid or not yet?
Well, I don't remember never having electricity, so I definitely must have been electricity by the time I was born.
Okay.
There mightn't have been because I don't remember being in the house without electricity. So I'm a because we built a house then in the I don't know what years the boys built it in. I was born in 31. They probably built it in the 40s. Close. I was born in 31. And I must have been in the 40s. They built the house because I left. I was never supposed to leave home. I was supposed to be the one to stay home with my parents.
Mm.
But I had other.
Obviously, that didn't happen.
That didn't happen. That didn't happen. And I decided to come to America, so I did, and that was 1953.
Oh, wow. So, what was the house like back? Like, how did they build the houses back then?
They're all concrete.
Okay.
Yeah, built with concrete. Yeah.
Okay. Because I saw my grandma's house that she was born in. My other grandma, Ann McDonald.
Yeah.
I saw her house, and it was like looked like it was made out of like rocks and stone.
Yeah, but that was the house that was the old house.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I think they never built a new one. They did.
If that's where Margaret lives now, then yeah, maybe.
Yeah, the newer one. The newer one. Yeah. Everybody built a new house later on, so they did. All them old houses only had like 2 bedrooms and a kitchen.
Okay, so the one you were born in was like a house like that.
I
Was it 2 bedrooms or?
I think that was when I was born. I think yes, that we still had the old house.
Okay, but then you remember growing up in a newer house then? That was
I
built in
did.
the 40s?
Yes, yes, yeah. And I remember growing up in the newer house. Yeah, I don't remember the older house. Very little because I was too little, you know. But then, as the family got bigger, naturally we needed a bigger house, and that. But as time went on, you know, the older ones started to go away to England to work, so we weren't all together all the time because some of them were older and they went to work either in Dublin or they went to work someplace in Swinford or they went over to England, you know, to work. So sometimes, you know, we wouldn't all get together till maybe Christmas. They'd all come home for Christmas. That was a big thing for everybody to come home for Christmas.
And what was Christmas like in Swinford?
Well, it was everybody put up their decorations. We had our own holly and ivy from our trees, and we used to put up our own holly and ivy, and candles. I never remember having a tree, but I remember having the candles. Everybody had a candle in every window. That was, and they would every night for 12 nights, the candle would burn in the window. Yeah, that was and there was always a turkey or a goose for Christmas. We used to have our own geese too. So if it wasn't a turkey, it was a goose.
And did you guys eat turnips?
Oh, yeah, well, that was a very popular cabbage.
That's why we still eat it then.
The turnips, the rutabaga, as you call it here, the turnip, yes, that was a very popular vegetable, and the cabbage. We had our own cabbage, and good cabbage, you know, wasn't the rough cabbage that you get here when you go out to eat. It was like Savoy cabbage.
Okay.
So that was nice cabbage, and we always had our own bacon, so they always boiled the bacon with the cabbage. It was really tasted good, and The turnip, yes, we put turnips in with the cabbage. Turnips and cabbage, or otherwise turnips alone, but mostly we put half and half, you know, with the bacon. That was always good, the turnip and the cabbage and the bacon. It was always a good dinner. And then we boiled potatoes on the side. So everybody, of course, and when the potatoes were new, we used to call it boxty, but it's cali. We used to mash them, but actually what we used to do, we used to mash the potatoes, the new potatoes. We used to love when the new potatoes would come. Do you want to go out? I just let him in a little while ago.
He likes to be annoying. Stop. Lay down. Lay down.
Lay down. Lay down.
Roscoe, lay down.
That's right. Good boy.
Good boy.
When the new potatoes were ready, and in June or something, that was, we used to always, you had to peel them and boil them and mash them, and we used to put with our own onions. We chop up the green onion and we put them in it, and milk and butter. That was good. That was really good.
Did you guys exchange gifts or not really?
When we were going to school, I remember when we were going to school, everybody got gifts at Christmas time at school. Animals and different things. I remember my brother Peter getting a little mouse that ran. You just wound it up and it ran all the way around the table. We thought that was great. But that's a long time ago. Things have changed. In Ireland too. But, you know, and then, you know, I had a lot of friends in school, and we used to meet, and we used to walk home together, and, you know, we were always out playing, so we were, made our own fun, because I had my sister Tess was 2 years younger than me, and Tommy was younger than that again. So Tess and I were very close, because we'd go out, the two of us, and we'd build little houses and make believe we had making cakes and, you know, all that kind of stuff. It was plain fun, but we enjoyed it. Everybody did the same, and then we'd meet with other kids and, you know, play different games and all that, hide and seek and all that kind of stuff. We played all those, and in the winter time, when they have some, not that we get really bad winters there, but we would get ice and snow sometimes. But when we get the ice, we just throw some, like you get the ice here. We would throw some water on the road. We always went back to the well to bring our own water. We didn't have it in the house at that time, so we just go to the well and we'd throw buckets of water down on the road, and when it would freeze, the next day we would slide like you do with skating, ice skating. Well, we would slide with our shoes. But it was fun. It was fun. So we made our own fun. We'd be out playing all day long, because we're wide open fields and everything. Nobody had to keep us occupied with a phone or a computer or something like that. We occupied ourselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I see you have a broken arm now. Did you ever break any bones when you were a kid?
No.
Never?
No, never. Never.
What about any of your siblings?
Huh?
What about any of your siblings?
No, I don't remember any of them breaking a bone. Really? That's unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah, we used to ride by. I often fell off the bicycle, but coming down the hills, some of the big hills, I fell off by bicycle. I hurt my knee, but it wasn't broken. I used to go down and help my grandmother. My grandmother lived 3 miles away, down in Lisprogan, and my mother always sent me down to help her. Not that I always wanted to. She'd always say, Lizzie. She called me Lizzie, not Betty, not nothing, Lizzie. And my father used to call me Liza. So between Lizzie and Liza, I never got Elizabeth. Then after that, this woman came home from New York, next door neighbour, and she was fascinated by the big family. She was taking pictures of us and everything. They were the only pictures, I think. And they were taking pictures and everything. And she said to my mother, well, from now on, she said, you'll call Elizabeth Betty, and you'll call Teresa Tess. So it was Betty and Tess after that. We just left. Yeah, but we did have to sign when we went to school. I had to sign. Well, I did sign Betty because I went by Betty. But Tess had, I think she had to sign Teresa. Well, like me now, I have to sign Elizabeth, and Tess has signed Teresa. But she didn't like Elizabeth and Teresa. I think they're nicer than Betty and Tess. You don't hear too many Bettys anymore. Like it's shortened anyways. It's Beth or not too many Bettys. But anyways, other than that, grew up. When we got to be 14, some of them went on to secondary school, or they went, serving their time to some trade, or that. But I didn't. I stayed home because my mother wanted me to help her. And most, Anne went to nursing, went to England, she went to nursing school. Peter went over to England to work. Well, Kathleen went in to Kelly's she was serving at the bar. She had to spend time learning how to serve drinks at the bar, like bartender, and do the roasteries too. And then my sister May, she went to Mrs. Rooney to learn dressmaking, and Nellie went down to Ballina to serve her time at Clark's and Ballina in the store to know how to, if you go, and those days people didn't go around and pick up their own groceries and that, like they do now. You go in and you tell them what you want and they'd get it for you, and then they'd add it up and pay them, that type of thing. So it was a little different in those days. But after that, and then Tess went to shorthand and typing school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she did 2 years in shorthand and typing. I don't think she's ever used it. But people in those days, a lot of people went to shorthand and typing because that's what they did when they worked for different people. They had to learn shorthand, and typing. Then Tess went to England, so I was home. And Anne went to England. Delia went, and she did her 5 years in the secondary school and had a leaving cert and everything. She went to England teaching. And Kathleen stayed in Ireland all the time, married in Ireland. And May went to England, even though after she served her time in dressmaking. Not that she ever used it, but she went to England. Nellie stayed in Ireland. She went to work in Dublin and met her husband and lived in Dublin the rest of her life. But Paddy went to work in England, and then my uncles claimed him out to America, and then May came out to America, and then I came out to America. No, yes, I was the next one.
So you guys were all over the place.
Well, yes, I wasn't supposed to leave, but May was out, and she married John Maloney out there from Swinford, and I said I wanted to go, and she sent me the papers and claimed me out, and I went, not that they thought I'd go or not, but I did. So
what happened to make you want to not stay home in Ireland and go over to America?
Well, you're working in the farm, so yeah, it's a lot of hard work. You know what I mean, the farm, and not that I knew much about milking cows, but my mother was the one that always milked the cows. If mother was sick of them, I would try, but I wasn't good at it. I don't know. You're just growing up and you're seeing all your friends go either up to Dublin or over to England or going someplace, and you know there's so many people of your age left anymore, so you figure, you know, I'm going to go.
So was it like, if you grew up in the village, were there a lot of people that stayed in the village, or did they move to other towns and other cities?
No. Most of the people that lived in the village, their parents stayed there, but the family always went away someplace to work. Very few of them stayed around Swanford. They all went over to England, up to Dublin, or over to America. A lot of people went to Australia.
Really?
Yeah, they did. A lot of them went to Australia. So I decided that I was going to come out here.
And how old were you when you decided that you didn't want to stay in Swinford?
How old was I?
Yeah, did you remember how old you were?
Well, maybe 16.
16.
16. I was dating a guy then when I was 16, and he went to America too. But I didn't come to him.
Did he leave before you?
Huh? He was here before me, yeah. But I did meet him a couple of times after I came here, because he lived in the way south, and I lived up in Wisconsin. So we're kind of far apart, you know, on that. But I did meet him a couple of times at dances and different things. But you know, I was 16 and he was 20 at the time, so. I did meet him a couple of times at dances and that, but I was up in Wisconsin and he was in the south side of Chicago, so we never really got to really go out together or anything, except we did meet at different affairs, you know, like dances and wakes.
Was that your first boyfriend?
Huh?
Was that your first boyfriend?
Yes, that was my first boyfriend. I was 16. Yeah.
And when did you find out he was gonna go to America?
Oh, he was getting ready. It took quite a number of months to get ready for America. So I think I knew that he was going to go to America when I started dating him. I dated him for about 6 months before, all up till he left. You know, I dated him up till he left. So he did write to me and sent me little gifts and that. But you know, I was still young, so I was still only 18, and so I stayed on, and then I decided, well, why should I go into all this stuff?
You don't have to if you don't want to.
I mean, but well, like I said, you're in Ireland. When you went to the dance, you always met other guys, and after he left, I started dating a different guy, Joe Dunleavy, and but that didn't stop me from going to America either. I was going out with him for a couple of years, and I wanted to go to America, and I'm glad I did, you know. So I came to America.
How did your mother respond to you saying you wanted to go to America? Was she supportive? Was she upset?
Well, really not. I didn't. They thought that I wouldn't go. You know what I mean? But I got the papers from May, and I just started following through with them, and I just went, and that was it. I mean, I wasn't going to stay, and that so I came here in 1953.
1953. And you came over on the boat, right?
Yeah, we first sailed out from Cork, and we came out. I think there was the Samaria, the name of the boat. We had a great time.
Was it like the Titanic?
Hmm?
Was it like in the movie Titanic, where everyone's dancing around and stuff?
Oh, everybody had a good time. Oh yes, there was always, yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, yeah. Even Rory said that. He said he told when they said, oh, they came out on the boat and all that. He said my grandmother said she had a great time on the boat. I said, yeah, we did. Just like going on a cruise, you know. Not everybody was going over to America, so we got to meet a lot of different people on the boat and dances and everything. They always had everything, and we're all young.
Yeah.
All young.
How long
So
was the voyage?
I'd say 7 days.
7 days.
Yeah, I think about 7 or 8 days the most were then. Mm-hmm.
Did you get seasick at all?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. May did. May. Well, that's the other trip now. Forget about that one. May wasn't with me when I first came out, but we went back, so we did. I did promise Joe DeLevy I'd come back in 3 years. 3 years. I went to Wisconsin, and May and John had a room. I stayed with them, and
May and John
Maloney.
So had they gotten married at that point?
Oh yeah, they were married before I went out there.
Okay.
Yeah. And they were expecting their first child after I was there. A short time. I came in March, February or March. Yeah. So they had their first. The following February or something, Maury was born. So I had a very good life with May and John. You know what I mean? So started dating some guy in Wisconsin, which was normal. Everybody were out having a good time, so everybody dated. So I came to the United States in 1953, and my sister lived in Racine, Wisconsin, so that's where I stayed.
Your sister May?
May lived in Wisconsin, and she was married to John Maloney. So they had an apartment there, and I lived in that. I lived there for 3 years, and I worked at the Northside Bank, and it was a blessing for me to learn enough about the banking. So that's how I always balance my checkbook. About the only one in the family that balanced the checkbook.
Do you know how your sister and Uncle John ended up in Racine?
Well, John had an aunt. They came to Racine because his aunt, John Maloney's aunt, lived in Racine, and that's where they came. But they came to Chicago then and opened up a bar. So, but when they got married, they went back to Racine. After May and them got married, they went back to Racine, and Pat did too. Pat was building houses in Racine, Wisconsin, and
Pat Maloney or Pat Reynolds?
Oh no, Pat Maloney.
Okay.
Pat Maloney, his brother Pat. His brother Pat was building houses, and John was bartender at Duffy's Bar. That's what he did. So I lived with them, so I did, and I had a wonderful time. So I worked to the bank, and I had a lot of friends. I made a lot of friends and good friends. I set up one of the girls' weddings, and but after 3 years there, my sister was going to Ireland with our little 2-year-old daughter, Maureen. So I went to Ireland with her. I left the bank for 3 weeks. I think we went to Ireland for 3 weeks, and I had a boyfriend that I'd left behind me in Ireland. So I started going out with him again, and he thought I would stay home, stay in Ireland, but I didn't. I decided I was going back, and that I didn't. After I liked America, so I did. I liked everything about it, so I did. So, and I had no intentions of staying in Ireland, getting married and living on a farm or something. That wasn't my life. So I decided to come back. I did. I did order a ring with them, so I did, and then but then I decided that I wasn't going to stay there. No, May said to me, said, "Why are you doing that?" She said, "You know, you already have one ring." She said, "From a guy in Wisconsin. Why would you take another one?" You know, and I said,
had another.
but I'd absolutely forgot about that now. I started going out with a guy in Wisconsin when I was at the Northside Bank, and Byron was his name, and he came from way up northern Wisconsin. So he was driving a bus in Racine. So I dated him, so I did, and he did give me a ring, so I did. But I went to Ireland. I don't think I ever had any intention of marrying him, but when I went to Ireland with May and Maureen, naturally the guy that I was dating before I left, he was still in Ireland, a few miles away from each other. So I saw him, and we went out together, and we stopped at a jeweler's and ordered a ring. And I came home, and May said to me, "Why would you do that?" She said, "You already have a ring in your hand." Well, I had it off by that time, but it was in my jewellery box, and so I said, "Yeah, well, she's right, really." So I went out the next night because we were supposed to go down and collect the ring the next day. He was sizing it, and I went out the next night, and I said to Joe Dunleavy was his name. I said, "Oh, Joe," I said, "I'm not going to go through with this." I said, I'm not going to get the ring." I said, "Because I'm going back to the United States, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to get the ring." So I didn't get the ring, and I came back to the United States, and I put the ring that I had from the guy in Wisconsin. I put it in a nice little box and sent it back to him. Because I didn't go back to Racine, Wisconsin. I stayed in Chicago because I had a brother in Chicago and his wife. So I stayed in Chicago. I decided I was going to leave Wisconsin.
So you went from 2 rings to no rings?
That's right. I had no rings after that. I gave back the ring, so I did, and I stayed in Chicago, and as my sister-in-law gave me a little jewellery box that she had, and I wrapped it up and mailed it back to him. So I was free. I was free then, so I would stay in Chicago, and there was all kinds of Irish in Chicago, so I just enjoyed the Irish dances, and we all used to go to the Irish dance on Friday night and to the Holiday Inn and Sunday night, and dated a lot of different guys. You know, always had somebody dating. I was dating somebody, but I wasn't steady with anybody. You know, for God, I had a couple of years, and a good couple of years, different ones I dated and that. And then well, I did meet Pat, and we used to dance together, but we weren't not a girl or boyfriend or anything like that. And then I met a lot of Irish guys. Millie,
Where did you meet him?
huh? At the Irish dance. At the Irish dance. Yeah, he came from Clare, so I did. So I was from Mayo, so I was friends with him and that, but I wasn't going home with them or anything like that. I just after the dance would finish that. But I danced with a lot of guys and had a good time dancing, and I dated different guys. Dated Billy Dunn, which was from Mayo and that, and dated him off and on too. And Johnny Corley, and I didn't date Johnny Corley, but I mean he always brought me dancing and that, and you know, he was a good friend of mine, and different a whole lot. You met guys were from all over and that. So I just enjoyed myself I enjoyed myself. Also enjoyed myself in Chicago because my sister Anne came out from London, and we got an apartment together, and we had an apartment. And then Peter came out, and he lived in the same apartment with us with 2 bedrooms. So the three of us. and we're living in the west side of Chicago, which was beautiful at that time, at 4421 Congress Street. So we had a nice apartment there, so we went to the dance. My sister and I went to the dances and went up to the lake, and everybody was always going to Twin Lakes. Twin Lakes, Wisconsin was more Irish going up there than anything, you know. So I enjoyed myself many years. So I did, and I did. I dated different guys and just danced with them and enjoyed their company and that. But I I liked Pat, so I did, and we were good at dancing together. We had a good step together. You know, we could dance well together. You know, and but Billy Dunn and was interested in me too, and he had asked me to go steady, which is what they used to do. That if you go steady, you were going to be dating nobody else, only them. And I said, "Oh, Billy," I said, "I was already going with somebody else." And I said, when he came back from the fishing trip, I told him I wasn't going to see him anymore. I was going to go. I started going out steady with Billy Dunn, but then that didn't work out either, so I didn't. So I went to the dance, so I did, and Pat was at the dance, and we came home and together and talked, and we had a couple of dates, and he said, "Oh well, you know, you and I could be a couple." You know, we could. So he said, so all right. Then we just from that hour, I just knew Pat was the one I wanted. You know, I wasn't going with him that long till I knew I wanted, because we were only dating for about 6 months when we got married.
How old are you about then?
I was 30 by that time.
30.
I was 30, yeah.
So was that pretty late to get married back then?
Well, yeah, a lot of people got. It all depends. Some people got married young, just like today. Some people get married young, and some people wait later. But with me, Eileen McNeila was a lot younger than me. She was married, and she was already had a couple of kids, so she did. And Kathleen McNeila, I set up Eileen's wedding, Nellie Gavin and them all. So then Pat and I set our wedding date for May 5th, and we only had 6 months to prepare for it.
And I ask you, so now that you've met Grandpa in the story, can you talk a little bit about his story, or what you know from it, of how he got up to that point? Like, since you know he can't really speak anymore, so.
Well.
Like when he came over, and
Well, he was
doing up until the point where he met you.
Well, he was in the army. He went in the army for 2 years, and different people used to say to me, "Oh, one of these days he's going to be coming riding on a white horse," and that was exactly was so funny that one night Anne and I, my sister Anne and I, stopped at one of the bars, and Pete Constantine, his friend, was in there, and he said, "Well, Pat will be coming riding on a white horse." And sure enough, he came out of the army that week, and he was at the dance. So he was. So we started going out together again. Well, because we were kind of off and on, you know what I mean. So we just had to go out together again, and then we weren't going out together that long till we decided to get married. We didn't have a long courtship, but we knew each other for quite a while, like dancing with each other and, you know, being friends with each other and different things like that. But
do you remember how old you were when you first met him? Do you remember how old you were when you first met him?
I was probably about 27 or that when I met him. So because he was in the army 2 years then, and 29. So yeah, I was like 26, 27 when I met him,
Okay.
and then he went in the army.
In the U.S. Army. So is that how he got his citizenship?
No, no, he had his sister. He didn't get it from being in the army.
Okay.
He just, because I got my citizenship after 5 years here, and he did too. Um, when he came out of the army, and then we met, so we did after he came out of the army, and it wasn't right away after he came out of the army that we got married, but we knew each other going to dances and all that, and we used to dance with each other and different things. But I danced with a lot of guys, so I did not. But I always had a liking for him, but more so. So we said we just said we just decided to get married, so we did. So we.
Was there a specific moment that you remember when you were like, I think this might be the person I'm going to marry?
I kind of liked him all the time. It didn't because we talked about it one night. The next weekend, everybody at that dance knew because Johnny Corley had asked me to go study too. So he and I never even cared for him, but he was a friend. He'd always get a ride home from the dance or a ride to the dance or something like that. And I never had ever any intentions of caring for Johnny Corley, but when Pat and I, Pat must have told a whole lot of his friends that we were going to get married, and this guy Phil Hennessy used to live with Johnny Corley, and he went home and he said, he said Betty Reynolds, he said, is getting married to Pat Reynolds, and he said, Johnny Corley said, Jesus Christ, she made up her mind awful fast. He said, I said, because he thought he was going to be going study with me. So I mean, it was all it was all in fun at that time. So it was so. But that's who I ended up with, Pat Reynolds. I always liked him, and
What was it you liked about him?
well, him and I danced well together, and he was a nice-looking guy, and it wasn't that he had a great job or anything, but you care enough for somebody is the most important thing, which I did, and I know other people had a lot better jobs, like Billy Dunn was a $3.99 man for a year, and he had a house in Ireland and everything, and Johnny Corley was a plumber, so they all had better jobs than what Pat had. But then Pat got into the plumbing after we were married and that. But took a while, so it did to get started. But we survived it all, so we did. But no, I never. Pat loved to. He loved going golfing. He loved going out to dinner. You know what I mean? And he loved going away for weekends. We used to go up to Colomawalk, Wisconsin, a lot. And Karma was born 14 months. We had Karma the first year we got married. She was born in July, and we were married in May, and she was born a year from that July. So that's the day Pat got sworn in as a citizen. The day Karma was born.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you know something, he wasn't at the hospital. And the doctor said, "Where's your husband?" And I said, "Oh, I know where he is." I couldn't say something. He's been sworn in as a citizen. So I just said, "I know where he is. It's fine. He'd be here because he was sworn in as a citizen that day." So I couldn't forget that. But we enjoyed, life and things together. And I'd say we didn't have our ups and downs too. Yes, we did. And I had a tubular pregnancy when Karma was 3 years old, and I was in the hospital, and I had to have blood and everything, so I did. And then after that I had a gallbladder operation. I had a gallbladder operation when she was a year old, and because I remember being I had to go in the hospital because there was stones stuck on the duct, so that I had to get. That was a hard, so it was. So as my sister May had to take care of Carmel, took her to her house till I come up from the hospital. I had lost all kinds of weight. I was like 90 pounds. Well, you couldn't eat when you have a gallbladder problem.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I think the last time I was here, you were about to tell me how my mother was as a baby.
yes, yes. Yeah, I said she was a beautiful child. I mean, she was beautiful looking and beautiful, and but she was very good as a little baby. You know what I mean? But when she got to be walking, and got to be 2 years old, I mean, you couldn't get her to take a nap. I mean, when you put her down for a nap, she would cry and cry and cry and cry and cry till she maybe sometimes fell asleep. She'd fall down in the crib and fall asleep. She'd stand up in the crib and she'd cry and cry and cry. But then from crying, she'd lay down and say, she's got to take a nap. That's all there's to it. But then I remember when she was 3 years old, I took her to Ireland, so I did. And but she used to sleep with me in the bed, so that was different. Right? She wasn't in a crib, and we'd go to bed together. So that was like different. But she went every place with me, and she was a good little traveller in every way. So she was, but she could be hard to put to sleep. That was one thing. Other than that, she was, Peggy was her age, Kathleen's daughter, and when she came up and stayed for a while, and they could play together, and that you had to have someone to play with, and that. But then, yeah, we spent 3 months in Ireland,
Really?
and she did well. She did well traveling and everything like that. So she did, but putting her to bed was the hardest thing. You know what I mean? She didn't want to go to bed. She didn't want to go to sleep. But other than that, she used to be every place with me, of course. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't working at the time, so just every place I went, she went.
So what made you guys go back to Ireland for 3 months?
Well, I went back to my mother was alone, and I decided to go back, and then ended up and stay until I went back till September or October, and I was going to stay longer, but Pat said no, that was long enough. So.
Was he still here? Or did
Oh no, I wasn't living here. I was renting. I was renting on down by Mays, in the same Christiana Street, and he was living down the block from May and John. So he wasn't alone. So he could himself and John would go up to Sullivan's every night to the bar. There's a bar at the end of the block, so they go up there most of the time. So I came back, and then I was only back a year or something when I got pregnant again. But I didn't carry it. I lost it, so I did, because of a tubular pregnancy, and I had to go to the hospital and I had to have one of my tubes taken out. So I didn't get pregnant again. Then May always took care. My sister May always took care of Tara, to Carmel, because she stayed with me when I was in the hospital. And I came home, and we're only a block away, so we walked down there every day and everything like that. May had two girls. Colleen was about 3 years older than Carmel, so she was good friends and all that. So it worked out well, so it did. But then we decided to buy a house, so we did. So bought a house in St. Edwards, a 2-flat, which was a big mistake. So it was, because I would never have bought it if Pat didn't say, "Oh yeah." We had tenants in the first floor, and we were up on the second floor, and it had 2 bedrooms. Yeah, it had 2 bedrooms. Well, how come we didn't put Carmel in the bedroom? Carmel, oh, that must be after the boys were born, because she must have had 1 bedroom and we had the other. But there was a back porch that we used to use for TV room, and we had a bed there for Carmel because the boys But she was 9 years old when somebody out there. She was 9 years old, so she was by the time Bob came along.
Right.
Huh?
Right. Did you always want multiple kids?
Yeah, I did. I didn't want to raise an only child. You know, it's it's nerve-wracking enough. So it is. When you have three kids, but at the same time, when you only have one, your whole life is surrounded around that person, and they can grow up and have they have nobody when they grow up. They have no brothers, sisters, nobody. So I always wanted more kids. So eventually I got pregnant, so I did after, but she was going to be 9 years old, I think, by the time I found. So I had there was.
I think it's 10 years old, isn't it?
Well, no, Karma was born in 63, July of 63. We were married in 62, and she was born in July of 63, and Bob was born in January of 74. So it was almost, what was it?
So it's 11 years.
Huh? 63 and 1073.
Yeah, that's 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
And well, then the 9 months you're pregnant, of course. Yeah, 10 years. So actually it's 9 with him because, and so I was happy about that. So I was, and she was very good with it. She was 9 years old, so she was good at when I go at the doctor's office, and I'd be rushing home and all that. And herself and Dad would have fed Bob, and they were delighted with themselves that they fed him, and he ate everything. For Bob had a great appetite and all that. But and then I was delighted I got a boy and a girl, and I'm satisfied. But they were 9 years apart, so they were. But that's okay.
Yeah. Do you think it was easier to raise a child with a 9-year-old, or was it?
It was okay, because you know what, 9 years is, it's not like she was 12 or 13 that she was dating or anything like that. She was still 9 years old only, so she was good with Bob. She was very good with Bob, so it was like she used to carry him around and everything like that. She was like her baby and that. And then of course when Bob was a year old, I found out I was pregnant again, so I thought, oh my God, these two are close. After waiting all that at the time for Bob, Danny came along very fast. So he did. So there was a year and 9 months between Bob and Dan, because Bob was born in January of 73, and Danny was born in October of 74. So there was a year and 9 months between them.
Yeah, so basically almost like twins then, almost.
Yeah, they used to call Bob Dan. A lot of people didn't know between them, and there was so much difference in the two of them. It was unbelievable. Danny was so blonde, little bone, very, very petite. You know what I mean? Small bone and all that. And where Bob was husky. Bob was quite heavy when he was a kid.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah, he had fat legs and everything in him. Oh yeah, he was fat, so he wasn't. But he was a good sleeper in the morning, but to get him to bed at night was impossible. He could talk, and he wouldn't be crying, but he'd just sit in the room in his bed and talk. Well, nobody knew what he was saying, but he was talking. And it was unbelievable how long he could talk. I remember many times me sitting out the front steps and just figured he'd fall asleep eventually. You come in after an hour and he'd still be awake. He was the worst one for not going to sleep at night. Oh, he was. But then from once he went to sleep, he was very good. He sleep late in the morning. But Danny was up. You put Danny to bed, and that was it. You didn't hear nothing from him then. But he was up in the morning. But well, then, like I said, they grew up, together, so that they were good pals for each other, because Bob was very, very grown up for his age, and he was very good at watching out for Danny and that. And Danny went into camp. There was a day camp up at the parking up there on Northwest Highway, and they go for 2 hours in the morning from 9 to 11 or something like that. And I dropped them off, and Daddy was young, so he was. So Bob, I knew Bob would watch out for him because Bob always watched out for him. He'd watch out where Danny was, and everything like that. So they kind of clung to each other a lot. So that worked out very well then. But as I got older, they got further away from each other. But I mean, when they were kids, they were good together. So they were. And
did they ever fight with each other, being only 1 year apart?
oh yeah, they used to fight with each other. Yeah. Well, they're more or less horsing around and fighting, but then they get into an argument, fight or something like that. But not that much. Not that much. They were quieter boys, so they were. You know what I mean? A lot of their friends weren't as quiet as they were. They were more quiet. Well, their father was quiet, and you know what I mean. So they weren't rough and tough that much. They didn't do an awful lot of fighting. Even when they were teenagers, they hung together quite a bit. Yeah.
How did my mom get along with them?
She seemed to get along. Yeah, they didn't have much. They kind of boys are boys. You know what I mean? They have their own friends, and she was a girl. She had girlfriends and boyfriends and name it, kid. So she did. So she was. Out. She had different girlfriends, and they'd be by the house. And Nancy Brannick, God bless her, the heart. She's dead and gone now for years. And then Liz Murray. And every time they went out and they come home with a dog or something. I remember the two of them come with a stray dog one night. Stray dog. I said, no way, no, I didn't let them in. But every time we went someplace, if Carmel saw a puppy or something, she had to have it. She's the same with dogs now, but she is. She is. And I remember us being up in Wisconsin, and there was somebody outside the church, and they had a little cart with little puppies in it. Oh my God, she had them puppies. Oh, she had to get one of them. Sure enough, we came home from there with a puppy. So we did, from Twin Lakes with a puppy. She had to have a puppy, and then when it grew up, got about a year old, and that was fully grown, anyways, I think. And I don't know how it ran away. Herself and Joyce, we were already living in St. Edward's Parish, and he had a girlfriend, Joyce Wiseniak, and herself and Joyce, I don't know how the dog got out of the backyard, and he started running, and himself, her and Joyce were running after him. Well, now a dog runs awful fast. The two of them were running, and and the dog took off. Took off, they never caught him, and we never saw the dog from that day forward. Whatever I think he either probably got hit by a car, or he went down the highway, or what he did, I don't know. But Joyce's father called and said, you got to stop those kids from chasing those dogs. They're going to kill each other chasing the dog. And I said, I didn't tell them to chase the dog. They went after the dog themselves, trying to keep up with, they were 2 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds or whatever they were. They didn't know any better, so they didn't. They were probably 6 or so. And they, the dog ran away, so he did. And he took off and never came back. We never saw him after that. So that was the end of that dog. So, but then I don't know, was it for her 7th birthday or something? Her father bought her the dog, the Chihuahua. Yeah, she got it.
What was the name of that dog?
Tiger. I always laugh at this. The man that I went to his wake a couple of years ago. He was a policeman. He lived across the street, so he did. And every time I'd be out in the yard, putting up, hanging up clothes in the line, and he'd always shout over to me, "How is Tiger?" What a name for that dog. But anyways, that dog followed Carmel every place. Oh my God, slept at the end of her bed. And if you walked over and tried to, my brother was over one night, and he walked over and he said, "Oh, Carmel," he was saying good night to Carmel or something. And the dog jumped up and he started, oh, Paddy said, "You're a mean little devil," he said, "for the size of you." So, Chihuahuas are only little, But he followed Carmen all the time, and she'd go across the street to the girls across. I mean, she'd go out the back gate and just cross over the street, and there was another girl that she used to play with, not Joyce, but Chrissy. Yeah, Chrissy. I forget what her last name was, but and she was going across the street, and the dog followed her across, and a car hit him, and right away, the car stopped. So it wasn't the dog, it wasn't the car's fault, So we took him to the animal hospital, and they said that his leg was broken, so they were going to do surgery on him and keep him overnight. So we were supposed to pick him up the next morning at 9 o'clock, and we got a call saying he died during the night. If that was true or not, I don't know, but he was a frightful little dog. They are frightful little things, and especially that he was very attached to Carmel, so he was, and that. So it's possible he died. But anyways, I had to tell her that the dog died. So that was the end of the dog. But then she was always looking for another dog. We got another dog, so we did. From Maureen Lally's dog had pups, and they were like boxers or something. He was a big husky dog. When he was a puppy, he was fine, but he grew up to be a real rough dog, so he was wild. He could go out get out the gate and down the street, and everybody was afraid of him because he'd run up to them. So, and if you tried to go out and leave him home, and Pat used to tie him to the table because he pulled the table with him. That's the strongest he was. So we just couldn't handle him anymore. He was too big for the apartment, too big for her to handle. You couldn't trust him in the backyard or anything like that, because he'd get out across the gate and running down the street. So Pat decided to take him one night. So he took him out one night and dropped him off in some neighbourhood. A ritzy neighbourhood. We never saw him from that day forward. That was
very different time than now. It's a very different time than now.
Oh yeah. But a lot of people do things now with dogs too. If their kids want a dog and their kids want a dog, but the kids don't understand how much work there is with a dog. It's like Danny's kids wanting dogs. There's a lot of work with a dog. And it can get to you, so it can, because you're stuck with the dog. But like Pat was the same way here. Bob and Dan. Well, that was the end of Carmen with the dogs. But every time she went out, she was coming home with a dog or something. So I just get rid of that's it. I'm not taking. But one day, like, they went out and got Oscar, and he was a lovely looking dog, but Bob saw it in the paper, they wanted a dog. So I was working, and Pat was home, and the boys wanted this dog, saw it in the paper. Bob saw it, but it was in the inner city. So Pat drove them to the inner city for the dog. I don't know what they paid for it. I have no idea what they paid for it. I thought they got it for nothing, but I don't know what happened. But it was a nice black. It had a lot of Cocker Spaniel in the face. The face was beautiful, and his hair was kind of curly, like the Cocker Spaniel. So he had some Cocker Spaniel in him, and he grew up to be a wonderful dog. We had him for years and years. But you know what? The trouble is with the dog, they didn't walk him because they were going to school, and the dog would go in the backyard, and who had to clean it up? Pat. And Pat was always cleaning it up, so he was. So, you get tired of that. They want the dog, but they don't walk him or anything like that. And if he got out the gate and went down and crapped in somebody's yard, they'd be back down to the house telling you. I remember one time there was a woman in the corner, and she was really a witch anyway, so she was. So she found crap in the backyard. She said she'd come down, and she told Danny to go down and clean it up, because it was our dog that did it. Well, I don't know if it was our dog or not, but anyways, Danny went down and cleaned it up. But then the dog got Cushing's, and Cushing's is where they're always drinking water and going to the bathroom. So at night time, he got so bad, so he did at night time, he'd be crying for water. you know, and if you didn't give him the water, he'd go in and drink it out of the toilet. And then he'd have to go out, and then he'd go out and he wouldn't come in, and it'd be 2 o'clock in the morning. It was me that was getting up doing that, it wasn't them. So he was getting worse and worse all the time. So Pat said, we have to put this dog to sleep. He said, there's no sense, we can't keep going on like this, you know. I mean, he said he's up at night, so he is, and he took him over to the vet, and the vet said, you're better off to put him down, you know. So that he didn't bring him back. He gave him to the vet to put him down. But he said it broke my heart. He said because the dog looked at him like he looked at him like he knew that he wasn't going to go home. But that was the end of the dogs. That was the end of the dogs, because dogs are a lot of work and expensive too. You know that. But there was no more dogs after that. But Carmel always had a dog. Carmel always had a dog. Always have a dog. Well, Pat always liked dogs too, but he knew there was a lot of work with them. You know, I mean, he was brought up with dogs. You know, they had greyhounds, and they had cocker spaniel and house dog and everything. So, and that, but as you get older, you're not able to do that kind of work. It's fine if you're able to walk the dog and all that kind of, but clean it up after the dogs, and then when they get sick and you have to medication and bring them to the vets and everything, that's a lot of work. So that was the end of the dogs. What else? Well, then Bob and Dan were going to school. Camera was ready. She graduated from St. Edward's, and she went to Resurrection High School. Oh, she took up piano lessons.
I remember the piano was there for a long time.
Oh, a long time. Well, it was in your house. They brought it over to your house, but
Ironically, I don't ever remember my mom playing the piano.
No. But she when she was like 13, she had well, maybe 11, maybe she wasn't even 13, 11, and she wanted the piano because she wanted to play the piano. No, she's the type of person to put something in her head. That's Pat was the same. Put something in his head, he had to do it. So her father went out with her and bought the piano, and she was taking lessons from the Sister Maria. She was teaching. She was teaching at St. Edward's. She was teaching school at St. Edward's, but she also played the piano. She gave piano lessons. So she was taking it. She was taking it from the nun. And the nun said she was doing okay. Well, she was only young then, so it was easy to. But what she was doing was okay, you know what I mean? She was doing okay, but when she went into Resurrection, she still wanted to play the piano, and she went in. I'll never forget this. She went in a contest at the end of the year. Why she would go do the contest? Because I don't know why they let her, because she really she wasn't able to play it. The notes didn't tally at all, but she tried it anyways. You know what I mean? She was in it, but I mean, it was ridiculous. So then, after that, I don't think she bothered much. After that, then she started dating and one thing and another. So she never bothered. But then the piano was there for a long time. I don't think after that she ever even bothered playing it. Never. I mean, if you like a piano and you gave it up for some time, if you like it. If you knew anything much about it, you'd want to try it again, you know. And then she insisted that we bring it over to your house. That Tara wanted to take lessons, was it? Someone wanted to take lessons. Tara, another one just.
Worked out almost exactly the same way.
Yeah, the same thing. And then she never used it either. And she ended up giving that piano away. Yeah. That's typical, so it is. Typical. But she didn't get anything for it. She was just glad she got someone to take it.
Yep.
Well, I couldn't find someone to give me one when she wanted one. Where to buy it? I forget what it. Huh?
Those aren't cheap.
It wasn't cheap. You're right. It wasn't cheap. So then, she graduated from high school. And she went. No, she took piano lessons at Resurrection, and she went to the contest and that. But that was it after the contest, and that I don't think she bothered anymore with it. But you have to dedicate a lot of time to piano if you want to learn how to play. She doesn't have music in her anyways. It's not in her at all. There's no music in there isn't. It's not in either side of the family. And there was nobody in our family that played music, and there was nobody in Pat's family that played music. It is in the Maloney's, yeah, but it's not. It's not in any of you guys. Tara wanted to take piano lessons, but she never did nothing with it. Yeah. No, but after that, she graduated from high school. She started going with Pat. Well, she was going with Pat before she graduated, because she went to the prom with him. So she did. So she met him. Oh, she met him at Maureen Maloney was getting married. She was at Carmen was standing up on the wedding. So she was at the wedding, and Pat Maloney was at the wedding. Actually, they were cousins, and they started going together, And then Bob and Dan were that much younger, so they were going to Tekla.
So is that so my dad's parents were from Swinford, the same as.
Well, they're not. They weren't from Swinford. They're from like up Kilkelly, and they went to Midfield Church. They didn't come down to Swinford Church. So, but they lived about 3 miles from the town, so we only lived 1 mile. Yeah, but we knew of them, so we did. Because one of them had a bar in Swinford, or a house, or a store in Swinford. Tom, one of the brothers had. That's they were years older than me, and that so and.
So when did Uncle John and Auntie May get married? Is that
Well,
did they know each other in Swinford? Or
no, they met out here. Yeah, I don't know how they met because. Oh yeah, because John and Pat were living in Wisconsin with their aunt in Racine, Wisconsin, and then they opened a bar here in Chicago. So that's where a lot of the young people used to go to meet in those days, was at the bar. And Anne Maloney and May, and then they were all going there. There was a kind of a room in the back they used to dance with sets and different things like that. So that's where she met him in that bar that they owned. And that's where I think your other grandmother met Pat too. Is they had the bar, that's where the young people used to go to meet up and dance, and that's what they did in those days. So that day is gone. At least it was a meeting place for all the Irish, where they don't have that anymore. When they like when they went to England, it was the same thing. They had Irish dances. But they don't have that in England anymore. And when I came to Chicago, it was the same thing. I used to go to the Irish dance. There was one, the Holiday Inn on Elston, and they had the Keemans on Madison Street. I got to get a glass of water. Auntie May and John, yeah. They met in their bars, and they were married on October 6th, and they went to live in Wisconsin. That's how my sister ended up in Wisconsin, because John was living up there, so he was with his Aunt Delia, and Pat too. And Pat and Ann were already married, so they were the year before that, so they were already living in Wisconsin. So then John and May got an apartment there after they got married. So when Anne and Pat were back on holidays, there's somebody. Oh, I think you're looking out the window. I think, yeah. Okay, that's all right.
It's recording.
So Anne and Pat came home after we got married for a year or something. They came back to Ireland, and they had a party up at the house, and I told them that I wanted to come out to America, even though I was going with Jordan Levy at the time for a couple of years. But going together doesn't mean nothing in Ireland, because nobody, you have no intention of getting married, because you can't get married. You're living with your parents and he's living with his parents. What are you going to do? I mean, you'd have to go away someplace together. So I was going out to Jordan Levy, so I was, and then I left, and got the papers from May, and went all through. Takes about 6 months to get ready, go through all that stuff that you have to go through, and that you have to go to Dublin and all that kind of stuff. So I came out to Wisconsin.
I think we got all that.
We got that. Yeah, we got that. So we did, yes.
Yeah.
So
I was just wondering, was it unusual, like, I don't know, so when my mom started dating my dad, they had mutual cousins. Was that strange at the time? Was that unusual?
how do you mean they had mutual cousins?
Like the Colleen and Maureen Maloney
Yeah.
were my mom's cousin and my dad's.
Well, to see, because they're two brothers.
Right.
So naturally the brothers, like, if like with Danny's kids, if Bob had kids now, Danny's kids and them would be first cousins.
Right.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was more like if my cousins on the Maloney side married one of Danny's kids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There wouldn't be any blood relations. No, that's how it was. You see, but when Carmen started going out with Patrick, and people say, "Oh, they're cousins, aren't they? They're cousins, aren't they?" Because Carmen said Auntie May and Uncle John, and Patrick, it was Auntie May and Uncle John, even though May wasn't his real aunt, but through marriage she was, you know what I mean? So when people would hear that, so you two are cousins. No, we're not. Yeah, and everybody used to think that, but they start talking about my Auntie May and Uncle John, and then Pat Maloney said, "Yeah, he's my Uncle John too." And Auntie May. So yeah, it was hard to understand it, you know. But anyways, it worked out, so it did. Worked out well. I think. Is that as far as we went then? Because we went backwards there, so we did for a while, because we didn't bring in about how John and May met, but we came back to it, so we did. So, I put all that about working in Wisconsin, and in the bank and all that kind of stuff. But I put all that in, so I did too, about coming to Chicago and all that. So why did we get so mixed up there now?
Because I was asking about my dad's
yeah.
family and how you guys knew them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was how we got back.
Yeah. So we're all through with that, so we are. So then we also went through Carmel. No, we didn't go through their marriage. They were going, Carmel and Patrick going out together, and all they went out together for 6-7 years. So they did. Didn't get married. Didn't get married till '89, and was it '89 they got married, wasn't it? And they were going out together, breaking up and going back together and all that. But anyways, they ended up getting married in '89, and I think they didn't have any 2 years. I think they were 2 years married. You were born in what year? 90? 91. Yeah. So they were married 2 years when they had you. I used to babysit quite a bit then, so I did when you were a baby, and I remember them going to Mexico. Still were they were always going, so they were. I don't know where they were gone that time, because you were certainly a lot older than what you were. Only one when they went, I think, to Mexico. But I mean, they went. Where they went, I remember taking care of you and Connor when they went. They were gone someplace else too, and I don't, to Canada was or something. I don't know, or someplace anyways. And now your other grandmother came over, so she did, and I made her lunch, so I did, and she said, we sat and talked for a while, and but they came home that night, so they did. They were coming home that night, but it was just you and Connor, and but yeah, I see Tara. There must be about 3 years between Connor and Tara. Okay, because I think Connor was when they went. I think they went to Mexico when I had you two. I forget whether, but they came back anyways, and they brought back some toys to you, and whatever they brought back to Connor, it was on strings, and it was a little man, and you could jump it up and down or something like this. And I always remember your father saying, watch Connor, he's going to jump on it. He'll have it broken, he'll jump on it. Sure enough, so as ever he got a hold of it, the little man wouldn't stay still. That he was doing like this with the husband on. He was going to put it underneath his foot. And I can always remember your father said, I can just see Connor with this. He said he's going to have it broken, and all at the time he's going to jump on it. But then Tara came along. But Connor was 3 years old when Tara came along. Then they got the girls, so they did. I remember when Pat Maloney died. Carmen left me with Tara. She must have had bringing you two with her or something like that, or something. But I know. Tara was on a newborn baby. Oh, she was coming to the wake or something after I left, and I was going home to watch Tara. So I was. You guys are in bed or something, and she left. I said, "Oh, you're leaving me with this." I didn't know what to do with her. This baby, newborn baby. Yeah, mine were all grown, so they were. So it's a little different. So this, you take a hold of a newborn baby. You know, they're so little, so they are. You know, I remember that. But then Rory came along. That was 2 years.
Yeah, he was in '98, I think.
And Bob went away to college, and when he came out of college, he wasn't living at home for a year or two when he decided to buy the condo there in Harlem Avenue. There were apartments, and they were changing them into condos. And somebody told him, and they didn't have to put much money down at all, so he didn't. But he
said he was working odd jobs before that, right?
Oh yeah, he was. Forget what odd jobs he had, to be honest with you. Oh, he was working at Harry's lumber company. Yeah, the lumber company. He was pretty good at the lumber too. He knew all the lumbers, so he did. I know that. But and then. That was that. He was still in. That was when he come home from college in the summertime, right? Or when did he work when he was in high school? I think he did too. But when they come home from college, they get home from college early, so they do, you know. So I think he probably had odd jobs too. I'm sure he had odd jobs. Then too.
You said after college he was working sales, right? And then he transitioned to IT.
Oh yeah, when he graduated, and he graduated summa cum laude, didn't he? And he was working for Ford. No, he went to the job that Ford offered him a job, and he went to the job. It was all. He was so mad, so he was, because he was only taking the cars from people that weren't making their payments. What do you call that?
Elections.
Huh?
Or repossessing.
Yeah, they take the cars away. So he didn't stay very long at that job. So he didn't. Then he started working out in the suburb, that one suburb. So he did. It was an office job, so it was, and he was. he graduated in what? Oh God, I can't think of it. It's two words, two letters.
Information technology.
No, 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 no. And he was working with it, and he wasn't making enough money, so he uh, he left there. So he did, and he went to a play. He went to another office. So he did out. It was out there in. Oh, it was out straight out of Irving Park, I think, or something like that. So, anyways, he was with them. He was with them for a few years. So he was, and he was making $35,000 a year. Well, that's what they thought that was good, and he was good at what he did. So when he told the guy that no, he decided to go back to school, and there was see, Bob was always watching ahead at time, and he knew that there was a class at DePaul or something that the guy was giving class for 6 months, and it was like $5,000 for the 6 months for IT, and he took it, and I helped him pay for it, so I did, and he took it, and he told the boss then that he was going to move on to. The guy told him that after he got through the class, he'd have a job. So he did. He went to Hewitt. That's the way out. It's not Hewitt anymore. It's something else out there. It's way out on the way to Wisconsin. So it is. And he told the guy, and the guy said, "Well, why didn't you tell me?" He said, because he didn't want to lose him. He was good at what he did with him, but he wasn't making enough money, So he went to Hewitt, and he learned a lot of Hewitt too, so he did, got himself up there a little bit and everything. But then all of a sudden, he was taking this tour to England and I know, Scotland and Europe. He went all over, so he did for a year, and he loved Scotland and Europe and all over, so he decided he came back and went back to Hewitt, I think, for 6 months or something, and told them that he was going to go on a trip, he was taking a year off to go on a trip, so, but he never came back. He stayed there, so he did. So, I know he did, yeah, the first time he liked it, then he went and he put, he sold his condo.
No.
Huh?
He had his. He
Oh,
sold his
that
condo
was.
on Harlem, and
Oh,
he bought the other one in.
that's right. He
Bucktown.
bought the other one, yeah, down. But then I wonder if he changed his mind then when he went when he was in. He spent, but he must have come back for a while after he took that trip through Scotland and England and different places, and he must have come back because to his condo. He must have, because he had that condo when he went to London. So he had that condo when he went to London.
Yes. So last time we left off with Bob had just gone to London.
He got to London, but he lived with Simon. Simon was from Australia, so he stayed with Simon for about 6 weeks, and then he got a place of his own, and he got a job with John Lewis Stores, and he's still working for John Lewis. So he's been lucky, very lucky with his work. And then he met Chris, himself and Chris started going out together, and they rented a place together, so they did for a long time. And then about, how many years is it, 4 or 5 years that they bought the condo? About 4 or 5 years ago, they bought a condo in Brixton. So it's a really nice condo. I was there, so I was, and he entertains a lot, so he does, because everybody was, you were to see him, weren't you?
Yeah.
And Connor was to see him too, wasn't he? And
you went over to see him twice, right?
Huh? No, I saw him once. Oh, I did. I did see him twice because he had an apartment when I saw him the first time. He had an apartment with somebody else, and then the last time I went, he said they had the condo, so, and Carmel went too, and your father, and then Colleen Harrison went too, and so did Maureen and Carey. So he has entertained a lot of people.
Katie went once or twice as well.
Who?
Katie Dugan.
Oh, Katie did too. Yeah, Katie did too. Yeah. So they've all been in. He likes having company, and they work together so well because they love cooking, and they really put a lot of time into cooking, and I couldn't put that much time into cooking, but they do. So that's and then of course this weekend they were going out to eat. They haven't been out in a restaurant for a while because of the virus, but they were going out a couple of weekends now with friends and that to the restaurant. So that's Bob. So it is. So he likes London, and that's where he'll retire and stay. But then Danny, my youngest, he was a really cute child, cute baby. So he was with the blonde hair and blue eyes, and he was real petite. He had curly hair, And he really was petite because he doesn't have real big bone, but Danny was easy. He got along with everybody. You know what I mean? Friends and everything. He was the type of person that walked away from it. If somebody didn't like him, he didn't care. He didn't care. He just. Oh, that's can't be. No, that's not. Oh, someone going back and in. Okay. But he was easy to raise because he was always had friends and the O'Sullivan boys and he always got along with them, and he never had any fights with them or anything like that. Although he had a fight with John Higgins one night, he punched him.
What was that over?
Broke his nose out. I have no idea. Pat and I were out and they were over here or something like that, and I have no idea what John Higgins did or anything like that, but all I know is that Danny punched him in the nose. So I don't know if he broke his nose or not, but I felt bad when I came home, and he was okay. I called him up, so I called John up. I said I was sorry. I said that happened, but he didn't hold it against him. It was all in, who knows what it was about. So, but and Danny went to school, when he had graduated from St. Pat's, he went to, what's the name of the college?
Eastern, right?
Eastern. He went to Eastern for 4 years, and when he came out, of course, he went to work for $3.99, and he worked for $3.99 for quite a few years, and he was working down close to downtown in the building. So he got a call from the fire department, and right away he took it. So he said, well, this is what I wanted. So he took I took the letter, and he was called. So he kept going. He stayed with the $3.99 till he was called, and then he went. Then of course, he met Colleen at Eastern because that's where she was, and we were going out together for a long time. So.
They weren't the same year though.
Huh?
Right? Was he older than her?
Yes, I think he was through a year before her, or something like that, and because I remember one time him being home and Colleen was upset because he didn't go down or something, and then all of a sudden he left and got the train down to Eastern, went downtown, got the train, went down to her. So they went out together for a long time. So they got married. What year was it?
I was in 6th grade, so it must have been 2003.
2002, was it? Or
Either 2002 or 2003.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and
2002. Yeah.
I think it was
They
two.
got married in September, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
2002.
September 2002.
So he had a big wedding, of course. Had a big wedding, and of course all the Maloney stood up in it. Rory and his 4-year-old.
The ring bearer.
He carried he did carry it up, didn't he? Who was with him? Who was the little girl with him?
It was Tara. It was the flower girl.
Oh, well, she was big.
Or was she?
No, was there somebody else?
I can't remember. I'm pretty sure Tara. I thought Tara was the flower girl.
I didn't
Unless
see
they had
anybody.
somebody else on the Tansy side.
I don't know if they did, or they just,
No,
they
I
just,
don't
huh?
think they did. I don't know if they did at that time.
I don't think they did. I don't think any flower
Because
girl.
Aaron and Brian weren't married.
Huh?
Because Aaron and Brian weren't married yet then.
They weren't married. No, they weren't married. So, but she could have had friends. But I don't think any of her friends had married and had children that old enough. So I think it was just Rory, because I remember the night of the rehearsal dinner. We had at the church. You always had to go for a conference the night before, and we were all sitting, and the priest is telling us what to do and everything. Rory was sitting in the front seat. He said, "Is that all? Has anybody got any questions?" And Rory said, "No." Everybody started laughing. He was ready to go. And then it was so funny, they were all asking him, Rory, he looks so cute in his tux and all that kind of stuff. He said, they bribed me into it. They bribed me. He said, what did they had to buy him some toy anyways.
Yeah,
to do it.
Spider-Man web blasters.
I remember that. Yeah, yeah. So they had a great wedding, and there was a lot of 500 people at the wedding, so it was a big wedding. And then he got on he was still working for $3.99 when he got married, but then I don't know how long after that he. A year or two, because I remember he was renting in the south side, and then they bought the condos were being built, and they bought that condo downtown, and then when it was finished, they lived down there, so they did for.
I was in Wrigleyville, right?
Yeah, in Wrigleyville, and they lived down there for quite a few years, because Bridget was born there and christened there, and where we had the christening and the luncheon and everything there. So it was really nice. It's right, a really nice condo, 2-bedroom condo, and that. So, but then when he got pregnant with Eileen, and then I said, did I say that after the wedding they went down to live at
Wrigleyville.
Lived in the
South side, and then they went to Wrigleyville.
and they went to Wrigleyville.
And then when Eileen was born,
They came back to the south side. Oh, would we put that in there?
yeah.
Okay. What was next after that? They redone the whole house, right? I went that far. Did I go that far?
Not that far.
No, I didn't think so. We moved back to the south side, and they bought a house and had it all remodeled, put a new top floor on it, right? Is it on now?
It's on.
Okay, so it is a nice house. So he lives in the south side and comes up as often as he can. So all my kids are kind of secure themselves, which is a great thing, and they're all good to me. All good. Grandkids and my 3 kids have been very good to me, very good. So it's been, it's been a blessing with everything. Helped a lot with Pat and everything, So I think what's next after that? Well, Pat, now then it's Pat's. When Pat got the, well, we used to go. When Pat retired, we always went to Fort Myers, Florida every January. Pat used to bring his clubs and everything, golf for 2 weeks. So he really enjoyed that. You know what I mean? And we had a lot of trips. You know, between we go to Wisconsin up to Oconomowoc and for weekends and weeks and that. And then we went to London and Paris, and we went to Nashville, and then we went to Ireland. I don't know how many times. And we were there with Colleen and Danny. When they had no kids then, when they had 5 years without having any kids, so that was good. So it was, so they got time to enjoy some life. So yeah, we went. So we spent a week in Clare. Cameron and Pat came over, and you 4 kids, right? Did you come that time?
Yeah, that was in 2004.
2004. But Danny and Colleen and I, and we were there before you guys, were we?
We stopped in London first.
Ah, that's why. You stopped in London. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think you just had a week there. We stayed in Lahinch, right?
We stopped in Swinford first, and then we went to Lahinch.
Oh, well, didn't we go to Clare first?
Not the time we went in 2004.
Oh, what was Colleen? No, but that was the only time that Danny and Colleen was in Ireland. But I know when we arrived in Clare, Teresa met us, and she took us out all the way out, and we had rented a place out not in Lahinch. And then Carmel and Pat, you came from London, so you did you?
Well, we went to London first, and then we went to Swinford.
And
then from Swinford, and you were there in Swinford as well.
Yeah, but we must have stayed. We stayed in Clare for a week, I think, and then we drove to Swinford and the house.
The other way around. We stayed in Swinford first, and then we went to Clare afterward.
Really? So we went to Swinford first.
Yeah.
Because Bob was in Paris, didn't he? Didn't Bob meet us? Where did Bob meet us? And he met us in Swinford.
That might have been another trip. Did you was that the last time you went to Ireland? 2004?
Oh no, I was there in 2007. Wasn't I? For school rehearsal from our school. There was a reunion from the school, and but that was different, because I know Bob came over to Swinford, because he went through Paris or something. He stopped in Paris or something, because I know he did meet us there.
I don't think he was living in London in 2004 though.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't. No, he came from here, but I think he stopped in. I didn't get there as soon as us, anyways.
Okay.
But he did meet us there, because we met all the Reynoldses in Clare.
Yeah.
We took them out to lunch, and then. But you said Clare was the last, but we drove up to Dublin. Do you remember?
Yeah, we drove to Dublin from Clare, but we went to Swinford first because all the Maloney's were there also at the same time.
What?
Because all the Maloney's were there at the same time.
Oh.
It was Auntie May's 80th birthday and Anne Maloney's 80th birthday.
Oh, but May wasn't there with us. May was not there with us. No. Anne Maloney was there for her 80th birthday, but not Auntie May.
No?
No. May went after that.
Okay.
They went after that. Anne Maloney was there for her 80th birthday, but she stayed on. We left, and she stayed on. And because do we leave? No, we didn't leave from Clare. I stopped in Dublin to see Marie, and Nellie was in hospital. Nellie was in hospital, and you guys went and flew over to England from Dublin.
Yeah.
So you mustn't have stopped in Dublin. You mustn't have stopped in England beforehand if you were flying back to.
Oh, that was where our plane back to Chicago was.
Huh?
That was where our plane back to Chicago was.
But when we flew from Clare, I drove with you guys because I was going to see Nellie, and you dropped me off a block away from the hospital, and you guys went on to fly to London.
I don't know. You didn't go when Tara and Rory went, and was it 2012?
Oh, you were all there, weren't you?
I was there in 2004.
How old was Rory in 2004?
He was a little kid. He would have been 5 years old.
Oh, that's all he was.
Oh.
That's all he was. But he was in Clare. Yes, that was the time. Because I remember you guys having the house. Oh, yeah. To Rory, because I remember Bridie saying, oh, I think Rory looks like you. She said, he's got your eyes. I don't know, but that's what she said. And that's why I know Rory was there. And so, because then I came back to Clare by bus, and they had eaten their dinner, and I said, okay, Pat, I said, let's go down to the hotel, Falls. I said, and I have something to eat. I said, they had all eaten, and they'd never even thought about me coming and home for dinner. So, but we were only there a short time then when I came back from Dublin, because we left a day or something like that. And I remember us leaving. We moved into Tom's, and oh no, Tom, it was the same house because Tom was staying in that house too. Tom and Anula was home, so and then we left from there, and we flew back, and that was that 2004 that all that took place.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think so.
Huh?
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah, it was all.
You know, that was the only time that all of us were there.
Yeah, that's right. That's the only time when all of us were there. Yeah, that's right. We all were there at that time, and and after that, of 2004, there was nothing big going on after that, because Daddy was already married, and all the grandkids were born except they had Bridget the next year or something like that. A few years later than that,
Yeah, 2008.
Bridget was born, so Bridget wasn't born for 4 years more. Okay, so yeah, so and that got their house to the south side and got it all fixed up and that. They were staying with Tansies till they got the house finished in the south side, but. And well, like I said, with Pat, he was able to travel with us every place. He went to every place because 2007 we went to Paris, London and Paris, and he was with me, so he was, and he did well. But I knew he had it then. I knew he had the Alzheimer's, but he was well enough that you could travel with him, you know. And Bob had gotten us a nice hotel, and just used to go down for breakfast and that, and then Bob would come and get us and bring us to his place during the day and make us lunch and that kind of stuff, and we'd go out for dinner and all that, and make sure we got back because we didn't know London, you know. So yeah, that was a nice trip. So I enjoyed Paris, so I did. There's a lot to see in Paris, and I mean, Bob brought us to every place. You know, you see everything when you go with Bob. The dinner, of course, he could speak some French, which was good when you went to the restaurants. He could kind of explain to you what it was. You know what I mean? We couldn't. So, and then we came back to London, and from London we flew back here again. So, I haven't done any trips since then.
And international trips.
No, no international trips. No, I think we went for Carmen's 50th birth. Not 50th, but what am I talking about? What year? What was she going to be when we went to Nashville? Yeah, 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 7 years ago. And he was okay then. Yeah. He was okay then. So he didn't get real bad till the last 5 years. That he really, I think that he really, and then he went down, kept going downhill from that onwards, you know. But other than that, he was. I mean, when we went to Nashville, you know, you didn't have to watch over him like you did after that, you know. So when we came back from Nashville, that was 57, right? No, what year was that? No, I'm talking about 57. That was, Carmen was 50 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what year was that? She was born in
She's 57 now.
Yeah, she was born in 63.
So it would have been 7 years ago. So 2013.
2013, yeah. So we hadn't gone to Florida in the winter time since then. I don't think it was too much of a hassle, especially once you went into a nursing home. But
You went this last year, right?
But not with him.
Oh yeah.
I went to Carmen and Pat, but not with him because he was in the nursing home while I was gone. And I went to California too with Carmen and Pat. What year was that?
That was 2017 for Rory's graduation from boot camp.
Huh? Yeah, 2017. So we've done some trips since then, but he wasn't able to go. Then he was in the nursing home at that time. I think he was in where he died. He was at that nursing home because I remember me telling the year that we went to California. I remember me telling the CNAs, Racine and Sasso, that we was going to California. They said, "Oh, take me with you." So and then the next year we went to Florida. Last year I went to Florida with Cameron and them, which was 2019. But I mean, he hasn't been traveling since we went to, the last time we went, I think was when he went to Nashville. I don't think did we go the next year to Florida? That was it. We went to Nashville 2017, was it? No, 2004. 2014. That's 7 years ago. We might have gone to Florida once after that, did we?
Maybe.
Huh? We might.
We go to Wisconsin a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We went to Wisconsin a lot, so we did, and that. But because I remember them telling me, take him off the driving because he's going to get lost. So I don't think if we did go to Florida, somebody drove us to the airport and that, but I'm not sure we did. Although I did have that lady that I was renting her condo for quite a few years. We might have gone for one more time. You know, that someone drove us to the airport and that, and then we, of course, he was able to drive because we remember, but I always had the directions with me and I could tell him, you know, because he liked to take the long way around. So, yeah. So it was, you know, since then, since 2014, he didn't go too far. You know, he was in different nursing homes and he was, you know, he was going downhill most of the time. You know, well, not that bad, but I think in the last 2 years he really went downhill. And, you know, you can only live so long with it, you know. And some people go fast with it. And some
He lived
people,
a long time
huh?
with it.
He lived a long time with it because he was good. He was good for years. So he was that I could go to dances and all that kind of stuff. But and he wasn't. He fought it a lot too himself. He tried hard. So, but then it just got bad and really bad in the last couple of years. That he was really in that. That chair that was, well, it was comfortable, so it was. He had that for the last year. That Racine got him, and that got to get up and see Racine. So I feel so bad that we haven't given him anything yet for spending the whole day with us, you know. I only had $20 bill on me, and I gave it to him, but I didn't intend to give him that little. So your mother said she was going. I said when she comes back, we have to make an appointment with him because you can't go in. So yeah, she's got his phone number, so maybe she can make an appointment with him and put it in an envelope, a little note, you know, thank him for what all he did, because he was very good to Pat. But that's kind of our lives, but all the way through, isn't it? Huh?
Not yet, at least. As far as we are.
Yeah, as far. Oh, I did, like as far as we are. That's our lives up to now, huh? Yeah, our lives up to now. Yeah. We don't know how long I'll be around. So.
I'm still in pretty good shape, so it might be a while.
Oh, I don't know about that.
You have anything left that you still want to do? Do you have any trips you want to do?
Not really. You know, I will go to Florida this year with Pat and Carmel. They're going down in February. I like people to be with me now, but I wouldn't do a trip on my own. Because you know, Carmel was saying, "Oh, don't you want to go to Ireland? Don't you want to go to Ireland?" Yeah, that's all right. It's a long journey, so I did it. So I did. I went over and got off in Dublin, and Marie picked me up and she brought me to the train. Yeah, when you have someone, because I'd never be able to find my way around Dublin either, so I wouldn't. So she got me to the bus, and I came down to Swinford, and Tommy picked me up. Well, that's fine, you know what I mean? It's all fine. You can do that, but it's a long journey too. Long journey, you know, for my age. Yeah. So that's Pat's passed on now, so. Let's see how long I got to live. I'm surprised with the people. Jerry Taft, that used to do the news, used to do the weather. I loved him so I did, because he was really funny, Jerry Taft. I mean, he was only 77, and now Regis. I used to watch Regis filming all the time. He was funny, so he was good. He was really good. He was 88. So. He died of natural causes. Well, I guess if your day is up, your day is up, right? Isn't that what they say?
Right now, we're actually in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic.
I know. And that makes it a little rough, so it does, for traveling.
Yeah, so this is contemporaneous, so I don't know, what would you tell future generations about what it was like being alive in the coronavirus pandemic?
Oh,
well, we're in it right now.
Well, yeah, you know, it's rough, so it is, but not too bad for me, because at my age, it's not too bad. I only go out when I go out to dinner and that with the family, you know what I mean, or order in with the family and that kind of stuff. I'm lucky, you know what I mean, that me going out to restaurants on my own, I wouldn't, but I'd have to go to a friend or something like that. And you wouldn't go out very often then, but when I have Carmel so close and Danny comes up, you know, and they'll always come up and they always order in or go out. So, I mean, the only thing is you're scared of getting it. That's the most thing. You're afraid, you know, when you go out, that you wear the mask and you do the best you can and you wash your hands and you try to keep your distance. but you can't keep 6 feet of distance when you go to a restaurant. There's no way in hell you can do that, as you know yourself. So, so long as did that girl that was waiting on us yesterday, she had a mask on? Did she? Okay. So that's, it's tough, so it is, because you don't have the freedom that you want to do. Going to pools, and you like to go to pools and that kind of stuff, Although we went in the lake more up there and that, but we were the only people that were there, you know what I mean? But going to the pools and I never was crazy about going down to the lake anyways, because I think it's treacherous for those people to go out in the lake swimming, and you never know when you're going to get caught with the tide or something like that. So, but I mean, it's tough on everybody, because you can't do what you want to do. You know what I mean? You have to be very careful of what you're doing. So many people have told me that they're going to come over and we're going to sit out on the deck and going to have wine and cheese. Mary Maloney did that, so she did, but Maureen Moore said she wants to do that. And Mary Ellen Farisi said she wants to do that. Well, every time she set it up for Monday. And Monday, I have a doctor's appointment. Tuesday, I said, the guys are coming, I said, to do the gas downstairs. So I said, she said, oh, it never ends, does it? I said, that's true. So we have to set it up another time. So, you know what I mean? So there's, and then another girl that, we used to go to yoga twice a week, and there's no yoga, there's no gym, and all that. So you can't go to the place that you like to go. One of the girls from yoga called me and she said, is the Pancake House open? I said, I'm sure it's open. I said, why wouldn't it be opened? Well, she said, they were all closed, weren't they? I said, well, I think they're open now. So she said, well, take a look sometimes and maybe we can go and have coffee. I said, we'll go for breakfast, not have coffee. But she said, how can you sit apart? She said, you have to sit across the booth. I said, oh, I've been sitting across the booth for a long time. I said, I've been in many restaurants. I said, and I'm sitting across the table from somebody else on the booth. I said, or next. I said, that's not a problem. I said, wear your mask, I mean, you can't expect them to, Mary Ann told me that they skip a booth and then they put another booth. You're still sitting across the table from the other person. But if the other person doesn't have it, you're all right. And if they have it, they wouldn't be out, So we might go out for breakfast one morning so that's as far as I am now, as far as today. And I just eat too much pizza.
Well, you say you remember when you were a kid getting vaccinated for polio, right? But that wasn't anything like this, right?
Oh, well, you're a young kid, and you didn't, when we were all, the doctor was coming out to the house, we didn't have to go in for it. The doctor came out and did everybody in the village for the shot. And we all had to go back to Henry's, it was at the end of the village, and we all had to get our shot and that. But, you were young, and you really didn't pay that much attention to it. You get a shot for the polio, and but it's when you get older and you realize these things can be treacherous. I mean, even though they keep trying to tell us that, Trump will try to tell you that it's nothing, but look at all the people that are dying. Look at California. It's terrible. And is it not California? It's Florida. Florida is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Well, they're all out on beaches and the pubs and all that, because they're all outdoor pubs and that. And California is bad too. And Mary Maloney won't go back to Arizona because she said it's terrible there too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a great time. As Bob says, not a great time to be alive. I said, well, you have to take what you get when you're alive. I said, I've been around 88 years and I haven't seen anything like this. I said, because the polio shots and things like that, you're a little kid and you didn't pay any attention. You went and got your shot and you felt like you were cured, which none of us got it. None of us got the polio. But Kathleen, Tommy's wife's, one of her brothers got it. And he was left with a limp for the rest of his life. Yeah.
So you've lived through a lot of interesting times. I know you were born in 1931.
Yeah.
I know know that was right at the end of the Great Depression. I know you're a baby.
Yes.
Probably don't
I,
remember it that much, but
well, I remember,
it was
like,
a
I mean,
long-lasting thing. Like, did it affect your life growing up at all?
well, not really, because you were too young to know. You'd hear them, the parents talking about it, you know, and how hard it was for people to get by, and you know, your father went to England to make money and send it home and all that kind of stuff. But you didn't pay any attention because you were too young. It's like Danny's, you know, Danny's Brendan or something like that, you know, or, although Brendan is quite up to everything, but or like, you know, you were young. So, you know, that was in the early. What years was it? 30. What years was that?
It was like 29 to 31, maybe.
Yeah, well, I was born in 31, so it wouldn't be. How many years did it last?
I can't remember.
Probably just coming out of it when I was born. Huh?
It had long-lasting effects for years, I remember.
Oh, it affected the.
Yeah, like 2008 had effects for years as well.
Oh yeah, 2008.
Years to get back out of that. So.
Yeah, 2008 when Obama got in, we got hit with the depression then.
Yeah, before that
It was going down. It was going, but
it was over the summer.
yeah, but Obama and them had to bring it back to us because people were losing their houses and things. Who was it? Who was in office at the time?
It was
Bush was it? That was the young Bush, but
yeah.
not the old man.
Young Bush.
The son, young Bush. Yeah. So and then Obama and them. So they. How many years did it take them to get out of that? There was a lot of people lost their homes then.
Long time.
Huh?
Maybe 10 years.
Yeah, he was in for 8. So I think he must be over with at 8. Huh? I think it was over with before he got out, wasn't it?
Probably about that.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, you would have been older during World War II. Do you remember anything from that?
I only remember my May going to England and the war was on then, and my mother used to worry about them in England with the bombing and all that kind of stuff. But I like other than that, you know, you're not very old, so you don't. 7 years old, you know, what do you don't remember too much about that stuff. But I remember when Mother used to worry about when any one of the kids would be going to England and that, and because it was bad in England. It was bad when May was there anyways, yeah. Because I remember talking about it.
So you would have been about 11 or 12 or 13 when the war ended. Do you remember that at all?
What?
When World War II ended?
No.
No.
I think I remember somebody coming in and saying the war is ended, but you know what I mean, something like that. But you know, you'd pay. Other than that, you know what I mean, you didn't pay that much attention. So I remember, yeah, my mother said, "Oh, the war is ended," or something like that. So, well, that's what. Yeah, well, I wonder if was my father in England at the time. I don't know. Huh? If he was in England at the time of that. That was the what? That war. What war did they say that was?
It was World War II.
World War II.
Oh wait, your father was in a war?
No, my father wasn't in a war. No, but I'm talking about that year. Talked about the when the last was that the last war we had that you're talking about?
What, World War II?
Yeah. What year was that?
That ended 1944, I think.
Oh, sure. I wasn't around. I was. I was 31. Oh, I see. 31 and 41. Oh, yeah, I was. Was that the one that my uncle was killed in?
No, that was World War I think. Yeah.
1918.
Yeah,
1918. Who were we fighting in the
World War II was Hitler in Germany.
Oh, Germany,
Nazis.
the Nazis.
Yeah.
Did we win?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure we had all that at school about the war, but maybe not. Maybe not. You know, because they don't get it on and going to get it in the history books for many years. But I don't. I was what? How old did you say I was?
So in 1944, when it ended, you would have been what,
13,
13?
14, 13 or 14. I was more interested in going to the dance. And who was I going to dance with? Yeah, I think I might be more interested in going to the dance. But I don't know if I went to many dances 13 and 14, honey. I think it was 16 when I went. But
Do you remember the moon landing?
the what?
The moon landing? When they would put a man on the moon?
Oh, that was, yeah, I was here.
Yeah, that was in the 60s.
I wasn't long here when they put the man in the moon. I put the man in the moon. That was, what the heck was his name? I can't think of his name now.
Armstrong.
Armstrong, yeah. They put a few on the moon, but that was the first one.
Yeah. And that was right around the time when Kennedy was assassinated.
Oh yeah, I remember that well. I was married then, so it was, and I had Carmen. Carmen was a baby. I remember that. Remember that very well. Watching Bozo was on, and Carmen was watching Bozo, and they flashed it across the screen. Kennedy's dad. Kennedy got assassinated. Yeah, that I remember well, and all of that, the funeral and everything, you know. Yeah, and Bobby Kennedy a couple of years later. Yeah. Yeah, when you're 13 and 14, you're not that interested in all that stuff. You're interested in going to the dances and your friends and all that kind of stuff.
Do you remember where you were during September 11th?
Oh, I was in bed, and Pat Reynolds got up, and he had a dentist appointment, and he turned on the television and he saw that New York was burning down. And do you think he woke me up to tell me that something happened in New York? He went to the dentist, and when I got up, oh my God, I thought, I can't believe it, that you went to the dentist and you weren't concerned. He said, what could you do? What could you do anyways? He said, when he went to the dentist, of course, the dentist said, oh my God. And Pat he didn't get alarmed about it. You know what I mean? You know, he was no person to get alarmed very easily. He was just took it in stride, you know what I mean? So it happened. But then when I got up all day long, it was on the television and everything, you know what I mean? And they were calling from Ireland, was everybody saying. Well, it was all in New York, so it wasn't here. But I mean, I think somebody called Paddy, so they did it at that time. And Paddy, that was, and he said, yeah, he said, we're all right. It's all in New York. He said, we're not affected by it. That was September 11th. What year was that?
It was 2001.
2001.
Yeah. I was 10 years old.
You were 10. Oh yeah, that's not that long ago. 19 years ago.
Yeah. That changed the world a lot.
It did. They're having a problem with China now, aren't they? Bush and China.
Trump in China.
Oh, Bush. Trump. I meant that idiot, but that's all right. Do you think he'll get in again? It's hard to know.
Right right now, as we're filming this, the polls say it's very unlikely.
Yeah, that polls don't mean nothing. Look at the polls last time. I left your house and Cameron was watching it, and I said, I'm going home. I said, I think Hillary. And I know I said something about Trump, and she said, "Oh, Mom," she said, "he isn't going to win." She said, "Who'd vote for him?" Next morning, I said, "Yeah, everybody voted for him." Enough of people voted.
Yeah.
Huh?
A lot of people thought he had no chance to win.
I know, and I think, but he's crooked because he has got a way of doing things that other people don't have, and that's he's got a crooked mind. I swear to God, he'll find a way to win.
So he was your least favorite. Who was your favorite president?
Bill Clinton.
Really?
He
Like
was,
about him?
huh? There was something about him. Even Tess said when she, "Oh, that wind is really something out there." I said, Tess said, "Oh, yeah, that's such a good-looking president," and and I thought, "Oh yeah, he is a good-looking president," and but he was funny, but they were awfully mean to him. You know, the Republicans were awfully mean to Clinton. It was terrible how they treated him. And I think that's terrible, so it is. I mean, he was pretty good. He was good. I mean, I liked him, so I did a lot. Most of the Irish liked him, so they did. So, and the country was in good shape, put him when he was in, and he was. I mean, he spoke well.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any advice for your family or future generations that might be watching this in the future?
Advice. Well, all anybody needs to get their health. Their health is the most important thing, and go to school and get an education, and work your way up. That's the most that you find. That you don't stay in a job for years if you don't like it. You're not making enough money. Try and work your way up the ladder the best you can and be honest. I mean, sometimes I say be honest because there's no honest people today out there. They're all the I call all the I would say if you're in politics, they're all crooked. They're all crooked.
Yeah.
There's none of them honest, really. But, maybe that's what they have to do to get in. You know what I mean? But
So be honest, work your way up, and what? Balance your checkbook.
yeah, that's good. Balance your checkbook. be honest.
See if in the future they'll even still have checkbooks by then.
Huh?
I said if they still have checkbooks in the future.
Well, they won't. They won't because there'll be no checkbooks and no. I mean, I don't get. I never. You don't get your checks back anymore. That you just get. Yeah. So it'll be a change. It'll be a changed world. So it will. You want. There probably won't be even money. I don't know what that
Yeah,
be.
so what is a checkbook for anyone who's watching this that doesn't know?
Well, you have.
How did you used to have to do it back in
Oh.
back in 2020? If you wanted to pay somebody with a check, what was a checkbook?
Don't you have a checkbook?
I do, but my children won't, and I actually don't have a checkbook now.
No? Oh, you. Well, I see. Well, your checkbook. Yeah, I have to order some more checks. Come to think of it, I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I mean, what would I do without a checkbook? When you cash a check, you'd have all cash then, so you would in the house. So it's much better that the money's in the bank and you write out a check and you go to the bank and you cash it. Because you wouldn't want to carry much. Today they don't carry any cash anyways, they carry a credit card. Everybody uses a credit card. Well, I use my credit card too, but I mean, I like to have cash. I like to have cash. I don't want to go into this store and buy something for $5 and have to put it on my credit card. That to me, I see them coming in and doing that, and I think, how ridiculous! It's ridiculous to see this. They should really have enough cash to buy a cup of coffee, but they don't. So I don't. I mean, I like my checkbook, so I do, but it'll be around for long enough for me, I think, checkbook. I mean, I can use my credit card, but then if I you stop in the store, you want to get a couple of bars of candy or something like that, or cookies or something like that, you use a credit card. And who gets charged for that? It comes out of my credit. I pay for it, yes, but Mary Ann told me when people pay with the credit card that they get charged so much. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like 3%
Huh?
or something.
Something, because you know when they rent one of her condos up in Mackinac, you put it on a credit card, and then she said, you know, sometimes they might cancel it. You know what I mean? They're not going to go or something like that. So we get charged. She said. Yeah, so I hope every one of my grandkids gets wonderful jobs, and they'll have the best of health, and they'll live long lives, and they'll marry whoever they're in love with, and enjoy their life as best they can, and stay healthy. That's what I want. Same way with my kids. Same thing. They're all healthy so far. Just keep good health, good family. You know, enjoy their life as best they can, and stay out of trouble. Stay out of trouble. Stay out of drugs.
Right.
Is it finished?